Here we are. We're here for another What's Your Story? And here we share stories, challenges, lessons, what we've learned. So much of what we go through can help other people, and that's why I started What's Your Story? And today I want to introduce my friend, Carla Liber, who has been through probably, in my mind, the worst tragedy in the world, which is losing your child. And she has wanted to come and share her story, and I'm so honored to introduce her to this channel and to you guys and hear everything that she's learned and has done and the beauty of the tragedy and the gifts that we find in them. Carla Liber, welcome to What's Your Story, where we share what we've learned, the tragedies, what we overcome, the healing, the grief, everything. Let's just dive in. Let us know. I know you as a friend. I'm so honored to have you on the show. I want you to just tell us who you are and what we're going to be diving into.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. Um, yeah, we knew each other back, gosh, I would say it was 10, 15 years ago we go back. And we met through our friends who have kids in the same grade. Ava, who went to Wilshire preschool with Talia's and Leah's kids and Julie's. And so, you got to kind of see the girls grow. And it's hard to believe that, here we are today. But it's just,
Yeah, that was like 15 years ago, wasn't it?
yeah,
Or something like that.
yeah.
We had the book club, page 7, or no, page 6. And I think the one book that we all actually read was 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, that is true. I think that is the only one all of us
Yeah.
read from
Yeah.
cover to cover. That is true. Yeah, those were really fun times, and so interesting how things change because when your kids are young and you're little, you're trying to just get through the day and the appointments and driving here and driving there and stop. You have to tell yourself to stop and pause and really take in the moment. While you're in it, you're in this crazy frenzy, and then realizing after, time, it's fleeting, and the years we have our kids at home is so short in the scope of things, and really trying to stay in the present. It's so important. But yeah, so we go way back.
Yeah, way
And
back. And so much has happened. I've had stage 4 cancer, and your kids are out of the house. Ava is at Miami University, and let's talk about Sami because I feel like I got to meet Sami after the tragic accident and after she passed. And this is only a year and a little ago. And it's it's honestly, it feels like such a scar on the world to have parents lose their children, and it happens every day. And I just can't imagine what you're going through. And I know that you would never, ever, ever ask to go through this, nor would you want anybody to go through this. But let's talk about just the experience and the shock and how it happened and who Sami was and her light that's still here.
yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, Sammy, I'll tell you a little bit about Sammy. She was a kind and gentle soul. Definitely, if anyone says, "Oh, what do you remember about Sammy?" Hands down, everyone would say her infectious laugh. She had this giggly laugh that was just so unique, and um, and she laughed often. She was one of those people that found the funny in everything. If something was too serious, or if someone was sad or having a rough day, or she would find, you know, whatever she could to make that person laugh. She was witty and um, she very sarcastic, and so that was important to her, to just kind of laugh often.
Mhm. Is
And so when Sammy would enter a
that your dog in
room,
the background, by the way?
oh, it's the neighbor's dog. Can you hear?
Okay, because it sounds like once you started talking about Sammy, the dog's like, "Roar."
That happens sometimes, actually. It's really funny.
That's interesting.
Um, at one point, I'm sure you'll hear Miles barking downstairs if someone rings
Okay,
the door.
okay.
Well, speaking of Miles, actually, and a dog, I would say Miles was such an integral part of Sammy's world. She asked for a dog probably every single day for 5 years. And Rod did not want to have a dog. And Ava was kind of lukewarm about it. She was okay either way. And I remember it would be, so what do you want to have for a snack after school today? Can we get a dog? It was, so what should we do on Saturday? Can we go get a dog? So it came up so often that at some point we finally had to give in.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful that we did because the dog, and still to this day, he's such an important um, family member. And there wasn't a day when Sammy and Ava wouldn't wake up and kiss him in the morning and kiss him after school and kiss him before they went to bed.
Mhm.
And he was just such a source of comfort and light and joy and love and laughter that I'm glad you brought up the question about a dog because he definitely was a big part of her world. I would say her first love, to be honest. She loved that dog more than anything. But so Sammy was creative. She saw the world through an artistic lens. Everything she looked at was colored through with an artist slant to it.
Mhm.
She saw the details and things that a lot of people wouldn't see. She'd find the ladybug on the leaf, in the corner. She would find the little um, butterfly. She noticed things that a lot of people didn't notice. And so art for her came very naturally. And she spent a lot of time doing art. And it was, I would say for Sammy, it was a form of therapy for her. She had anxiety. She would have moments where she would feel stressed. And as long as she had a pen, a pencil, or a paintbrush in her hand, she was good. She could
Mhm.
just put on her headphones and zone in and create. It was almost meditative for her.
I got to
So,
see some of her art at the Celebration of Life, which was amazing. She was so talented. Did she start this like early on as a little kid?
so she always gravitated to art. I would say
Hmm.
yes. She
Okay.
was one of those kids who um, she wasn't like, she didn't have to go outside and be active and run around. For Sammy, it was about sitting at a table and drawing and coloring and creating. And even from an early age, she had really good hand-eye coordination, so she
Hmm.
can color inside the lines very meticulously. And so that was enjoyable for her.
Hmm.
And so it wasn't until about, I'd say, elementary school, she would she took some art classes with a few friends from school. And that's kind of where it started to develop. She had an eye for fashion illustration
Hmm.
and really liked that. And then just drawing people. She took a
Hmm.
break after sorry, I'm moving all over the place, but she did art up until I would say middle school. And
Hmm.
then when COVID happened, we ended up getting an art teacher to come to the house so she and her friends could have an activity to do outside that was creative.
Hmm.
And she did that a few times and then um, she just felt like stopping. So I would say for about 3 years, she didn't really pick up a paintbrush. And then all of a sudden, her last school year, which was 10th grade, she started drawing again.
And that was when she was 16 or 15.
15. Yes.
15. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Life before art, school, high school, teenage years, Miles, totally normal. Can you take us back to, was it spring break or when you were in Jackson Hole, or was that summer vacation
It was
in
summer
school?
vacation from the end of 10th grade going into 11th grade.
Yeah.
And usually in the summer, we would take a family vacation for a few days just to kind of get out of Los Angeles and change the environment and reset. And for this particular summer, neither of the girls wanted to go away, and Rod didn't as well. So we ended up staying in town for most of the summer. And then towards the end, when she had to get ready to get back to school, August is a time when, the kids have to start thinking about, their reading list and college stuff and kind of get back into the school mode. We thought, okay, well, she had a little bit of a rough start to summer, that maybe it would be good just to get out of town for a few days and get some fresh air and kind of regroup. A lot of times with Sammy, she was I don't want to say our travel agent, but she was our concierge. She would plan a lot of the trips that we would take. And probably like a lot of, teenage kids today, Instagram was a big inspiration for her. And so she would go on Instagram and curate what we should do, where we should go, what restaurants would be, good to eat at, this and that. And so this summer, or that summer, she wanted to go away to a place in nature with a lake and mountains. And that was actually out of the ordinary for Sammy, because she typically liked beach locations.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she was so excited to plan, and she had picked Jackson Hole as the location because, of course, from
Beautiful.
TikTok, it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was, this Western town, and she could wear her cowboy boots and put her cowboy hat on um, and go around and be in nature. And so it was the perfect location for that. And the trip was really just 3 days. It was a quick trip, get away, be in nature, do some hikes, eat some good food, come back and get ready for school. She needed to be back for cheer camp because she was a cheerleader. And so we had only a certain amount of time that we could go for.
Mm-hmm.
And the trip was just myself, Ava, and Sammy. So it was a girls' trip. And we had gone the day before, and she curated all the activities that we were going to do. So the day before, we were supposed to go to this special coffee shop, so we did. Then we went to TJ Maxx in the morning because we needed to get a picnic blanket and a beach bag so we could go to this special lake in the Grand Teton National Forest just outside of Jackson Hole, which is called String Lake. And of course, because she had seen it on TikTok, and it was a very calm, crystal, clear water lake, absolutely beautiful. And so the day before, which was magical, actually, everything was just falling into place.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls were getting along really, really well. And we had stumbled upon this ranch, like farm location on the way to the lake. And Sammy was just completely elated. She was so excited because this place was the aesthetic that she was looking for. And she had an idea about what she wanted to do every day, and she had an outfit planned for every activity that we were going to do. And she just thought, this is perfect for our photos. So we pulled over to the side of the road and we got out, and we, took a bunch of photos in front of this beautiful farmhouse. And the girls were taking pictures of each other, and I was taking pictures of them. And there were like buffalo in the background and beautiful mountains with snow on them. I mean, it was just absolutely magical. And I could just feel the excitement that she had. She was just so elated that she could get these photos and it was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the lake after, which was another beautiful location, and the girls took more photos. And we started talking to someone next to us, and they gave us their paddleboard, and the girls got to go out and ride the paddleboard, and just magical and perfect. And then the next day, we woke up and we were supposed to go ATV riding, another activity that Sammy was really looking forward to, something that she'd never done before. And I'm sure she saw it on TikTok or had talked to people and they had done it and said how fun it was. So we woke up that morning, we put on our clothes. She was just giddy with laughter. I braided her hair because she wanted it to be braided for the helmet and photos. And we set out. We went to the tour company, to the office, and went to had to drive to the mountain to get there. And we got on our ATVs and off we went. And we were on the tour. It was supposed to be a half-day tour.
Mm-hmm.
And we got down there. And after, we got some instruction of how to operate the vehicle, off we went. And there were 11 of us on the tour that day, the guide, and then the rest of us. And it was beautiful. I mean, it started out magical, and we could just see the most incredible views. And we had a few spots where we stopped to take photos.
Mm-hmm.
And then we stopped and had lunch. And then after lunch, we got back on our ATVs and we were going down the mountain. And what happened next is something that you just could never imagine. And so she was going down, and we didn't see the accident. And when we came upon her after she wasn't conscious, and then
Was the tour guide in front of her? Like, was the tour guide with the whole group? The guide?
no, the tour guide actually left. He was in front and he kind of sped off. He was already down the mountain. He didn't know what happened. Um, you have to leave a little bit of space because you're following each other single file. And it was particularly dusty that day, so you had to leave enough space in between each driver because it kicks up dust and you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all kind of spaced out. No, the tour guide didn't know what happened until after. I think a half an hour or 45 minutes had gone by. And then we called him because I happened to have his number in my phone, and from when we were following down at the beginning of the tour, in case we got lost. And so we called him to tell him to come back, and then he did. But it was an out-of-body experience. When something like that happens, I kicked into go mode. And at that point, I was just trying to find a way to get her help and to get her safe and to get her, medical attention, because it was imperative that, she was treated immediately.
Yeah.
And so, search and rescue came. Eventually they came, and then we were able to get her down the mountain, and the paramedics worked on her, and then got her stable enough to be able to medevac her in a helicopter to another state. They had to fly her over the mountains to the trauma
Mm-hmm.
center. And I mean, the rest of it just feels like a blur. It feels like it's a movie that you're watching,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not a part of.
Yeah.
Because you literally separate from yourself.
Yeah.
And so
It's almost like you can't be in that movie. That's not the movie that you want to be in.
yeah. And Yeah, when that happened, we were just, I mean, to be honest, going through that, I just was in kind of action mode the whole time. Like,
Mhm.
okay, what are we talking to the doctors? What are we able to do here? What are our options? How is she? What, just anything that we could do to get some answers to try to see if there was a solution to the situation, to try to fix it in some way.
Mhm.
And when they told us that there was nothing that we could do, um, that's like that's a whole nother hit.
Mhm.
And just shock that kind of comes over you.
Yeah.
And Rod flew in. He met us there, so he was there with us. And my sister flew in to help be there with us. And it's just like I said in the beginning, you can't even process it. You're not even processing it. And it wasn't really until after we got home and it got a little quieter that we had a moment to just sit in what had just happened.
Mhm.
And even today, it's hard to process. It's hard to fathom. I mean, I'm 14 months out tomorrow,
Um,
and it doesn't seem real. I know it is real, but it doesn't seem real because you
mhm.
can't actually imagine when something like this happens, obviously. So, but every day Rod and I and Ava have gotten up and pushed through and pushed forward, carrying, the grief and loss of Sami with us. In a lot of ways, I feel like that has helped too, because we're trying to just honor her every day.
Mhm.
And I talk about her every day. I share stories about her every day. Um, we've been so lucky because when our friends and family had, found out what had happened, we had a really big community of support around us.
Mhm.
And um, honestly, I don't think without our friends and family and community that I would be able to get out of bed if they weren't there. And so it just made everything, I guess, just more possible to
Mhm.
get up and just, take on the day.
And it's probably going to be challenging almost every day. It probably doesn't get, it must get easier, but it's still going to be a challenge.
Every day. There's a few minutes before when you wake up in the morning, when you're not fully aware, when your eyes just open. And those moments feel like, okay, is today, like you wake up thinking today's a normal day. And then
Mhm.
seconds later, your reality rushes in. And I realized, oh no, this wasn't just a nightmare. This actually really happened. This
Yeah.
is this is the reality that she really is um, not with us physically anymore. So
How have you been? Because I have talked to you a lot since, and I know that you have felt her in other ways. And how have you been able to kind of learn how to connect and feel her and see her? Is there something that you've actually done, or you just have been open to it, and so you've been open, and so it's allowing it to come?
I would say definitely the latter. I've been open to it, so I'm allowing it to come. I was a spiritual person before um, any of this happened. I believed in signs and that people, don't really ever leave us. And just like open to all of the synchronicities and things like that. But it really wasn't until this happened that I dove deeper into the spirituality. And
Mhm.
that has also been such a comfort and such a source of peace for me to be able to connect with her spiritually and learn about all the different ways because she sends signs all the time. And for
What are her
example,
signs? Yeah, what is
yes,
sleeping?
some of her signs, well, right away she was sending yellow butterflies. So
Okay.
I have a yellow butterfly necklace. I see them all the time. And now my friends are seeing them all the
Hmm.
time, and family members and Sammy's friends are seeing them all the time. So it's really special. Really makes me happy because I feel like they also um, are open to the spirituality. And I've
Yeah.
been so amazed, I have to say, with her friends because I've met with all of them.
Hmm.
And I'm just so blown away by how open they are and
Hmm.
how in touch they are spiritually. And because of that, I think it creates an easy access line for Sammy to send signs, and they notice them and they acknowledge them, and so and they share them with me. So that's very, very special.
That's awesome. And it's almost like we're scared to talk about something really bad, but if everybody is okay with talking about it, then it's almost like so freeing to be able to talk about it,
Yeah,
and laugh about it and cry about it and have every emotion that we have from this. So, and
absolutely.
it's like the whole community is connected with her and not just the parents or the family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And especially the Brentwood community, because she went to Brentwood School
Hmm.
um, for 12 of her 16 years.
Wow.
And so the school for her and her friends and the teachers and the community really was a second home for her.
Hmm.
And they've really shown up and wrapped their arms around us. And the school has done an amazing job of keeping her present and involved. Last year, they made sure that she was a part of a lot of the big ceremonies and events that they've done. And they continued to do that this year, which
Hmm.
would have been her senior year. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of things that the school does traditionally. And the fact that they're making her a part of it is so meaningful and really, really helps. And I think also um, having the spirituality is something that makes the impossible um, a little bit softer.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like with grief and loss, you know, a lot of times when this happened, people would say, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I feel helpless. What can we do? And it's so interesting because before this happened, I was that person. I would want to show up for people, but I didn't know how to, or I didn't want to say the wrong thing, and I didn't want to upset them or insult them, or especially because in a time of loss and grief, people are so fragile.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was interesting to kind of see that perspective. And what I
How could
learned
you
is
answer? Yeah, what was the answer?
so what I learned was you just show up. You
Hmm.
show up, you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to have the right words. Just show up. Just be there and sit with the person and just let them know that you're there, whatever they need. If they want to talk, you're there to listen. If they want to share stories, you'll listen and share stories too.
Yeah.
Just showing up is enough.
It's exactly the same with cancer in such a different way, but in the same way of grieving. People don't know what to do, and sometimes they shy away from talking about it, or they're tiptoeing around it. And it's exactly the same. Just show up. And even if we don't live in the same state, text, say I'm thinking about you, or just sending prayers, sending love, just thoughts mean so much. So
Yes,
it
it's
is.
so
It's
true.
yeah, and
It's
it's
so true.
we probably all just grieve. Grieving just calls for that support and community to hold each other up.
Absolutely, because grief and loss can be so isolating,
Yeah.
and and especially this kind of grief, because it's almost like every parent's worst nightmare. And so for some people, it's just too real to have to confront and face. And so for those people, I think it's hard. It was hard for them to come around or to talk about it or because then it's so real.
Yeah.
And for others, processing grief, they lean into it and find ways to have support. And all of it's fine because,
Yeah.
to be honest, I mean, that's the one thing about loss. No one is immune to it. It is
Mhm.
something that every single person will experience in their life. Every person. Because you'll lose a parent, you'll lose, a
Yeah.
grandparent, you'll lose if things go in the order that they should. It's something that is universal. And it's just so interesting in this culture and in our society, people don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
so that is kind of the motto that Rod came up with, which is when you don't know what to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were getting a lot of friends reaching out saying, oh, can we drop off food? Can we send this? Can we send that? And which was all so lovely and so beautiful and so appreciated. But Rod's feeling was like, okay, because we were also grieving so differently, which is another thing. When you're in the house with other people who have also experienced loss, everyone channels it differently. So, for example, Rod and Ava, my oldest daughter, were processing very similarly, and I was processing very differently. So, they wanted to go inside and to kind of cocoon and be alone, not talk about Sami, not talk about the loss, the grief, the reality, and that is what worked for them.
You
And
mean
for,
so just go about life and keep it all normal and don't talk about it, kind of
well, they
thing.
were feeling it and they were thinking it,
Okay.
I know, 24/7.
Yeah.
But for Ava, she was a senior at school and she had to get ready for college. So she had to do school and
Yeah.
function.
Yeah.
And Rod had to get up and go to work every day. So he had to function.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because they had to compartmentalize to do what they had to do to get things done, in some ways it let them put it over to the side for
Mm-hmm.
a moment. It was always right here, the pain and the loss, but for that moment, they just had to put it right there and focus on what they had to focus. And I think in some ways that helped Ava a lot because she really threw herself into school and her academics, and
Mm-hmm.
she knew she wanted to go to college, and this was the time she had to do it. So for her, I think that was helpful in some ways because she also wasn't ready to fully talk about it. It was too
Mm-hmm.
painful.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just very different in how I went about it. I wanted people around me 24/7. I had a revolving door of people coming, and we would just sit outside and talk about Sami and share stories. And I just couldn't stop talking. I couldn't stop
Mm-hmm.
talking about
Mm-hmm.
her. I couldn't stop sharing. In some ways, I felt like talking about her, and still to this day, keeps her here, keeps
Mm-hmm.
her present. And also, I find that talking about her gives other people permission that it's
Mm-hmm.
okay for them to talk about her. And
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt me and it's not going to upset me. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing I think people, they just don't want to upset you. They don't
Yeah.
want, they know you're already so fragile
Yeah.
that they're trying to be careful, as I'm sure, like you said, you had
Yeah.
in your situation as well. And I
Yeah.
think once you can just go, no, it's okay. I want
Yeah.
to talk about her. I want to, keep her here. Then they can lean
Yeah.
into that.
It's almost like when you have that much grief, that much loss, which is also related to love, like the opposite of love, it's because you had that much love and connection. You just can't be fake and just pretend. It's you got to be real, and you just want to feel connected and have other people kind of have that connection with
Absolutely.
you and how you feel because it's just too exhausting to try to hold it all together and talk about the weather, talk about something that's not really what you're feeling and going through.
Yes, it does. That's the interesting thing about grief. And Dr. Laura Berman, who has been also a lifeline, I go to her grief group once a month, and she has a grief community that she has put together. I'm in also another grief group, has really also been a lifeline for me not feeling so alone and isolated. And I've been able to meet other moms in the same situation,
Mm-hmm.
some 28 years out, some 6 months out, some 5 years out, and just seeing everyone's path with dealing with grief and loss and how they've lived their life. And so that has been incredibly helpful and important to me. I think bringing people together in community with similar loss or similar situation really helps. And so I've, some really great new friendships that have come out of it,
Yeah.
and we're all kind of helping each other while we're navigating, our new life. And but to what you were saying before about not being able to talk about the weather and not being able to talk about trivial things, grief really sheds all of that
Yeah.
because you're no longer, you're as raw as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
It just breaks you open. And so you learn in a situation like that too, what matters, what doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just gets so real.
Well, so grief has taught you basically the meaning of life and what's important to you. How do you find the gratitude for so many things when there's so much grief and so much loss that you're still feeling?
That's a great question. I feel that every day is a gift and tomorrow isn't promised. And because we don't know about the future and we don't know what's going to happen, we have to stay in the present as much as possible. Before all of this, as a mom and busy, and you're running errands and you're picking up groceries and you're dropping your child off here and making this appointment and that appointment and then college stuff and high school and friend, it's so easy to get caught up in the craziness of all of that,
Yeah.
because I lived it. And then after something like that happens, time stands still. And that's an interesting thing too about loss is the relationship with time.
Mm-hmm.
Time stands still. And you're kind of stuck in a before and an after.
Mm-hmm.
Your life now is split into two. It's what your life was before the accident and then how you live your life after with the loss. And those are two completely different people.
Yeah.
And
And then you have
it's,
to find your way into the now,
yeah,
which is those two people as a whole. But the now has every feeling probably from the past and from the future and what's going on right now. But that's got to be
absolutely.
so hard. Yeah.
And
To
just
know
to like,
important.
exactly. And just to tell the people you love that you love them, don't leave anything on the table. Be there, show up, enjoy if you can find moments. A friend of mine said, you know, I want you to be able to find joy again. I want you to be able to live again. And even though that sounds like a really tall order right now, at least find the glimmers.
Mm-hmm.
So that really resonated with me. Every day I try to find the glimmers of hope and I guess happiness in some ways because I feel like now I'm living for Sammy too.
Oh, yeah.
And Ava's living for Sammy, and Rod is living for Sammy, and our friends are living for Sammy, and our family. And I think about like, would she want us curled up in a ball, in bed, crying, shutting out the world, shutting out life? I don't think that honors her in the best way. And so I think every day we get up and we try to do something that honors her, which is why the Sammy Foundation,
Yeah.
which
I
we
was just going to
started.
say, and look what you have now, like something so beautiful, and that can be a part of the world one day. And I love that Sammy stands for supporting music, arts, and imagination. And it
Yes.
focuses on her love of art and music and imagination. And whose idea was it, by the way, to start the foundation? And let's talk about the foundation of what you're doing now.
Well, so basically, early on, when people were reaching out and they wanted to do something and they wanted to show up, they felt so helpless. And just didn't know what they could do.
Mhm.
Um, People were buying a lot of trees in Israel for Sami and making donations in her name to different organizations and charities. And we thought, Rod and I just started talking about it. Well, let's start a foundation with Sami's spirit and the things that lit her up and the things that she loved to do. And if we can start this foundation, we can actually do something where we put something back good in the world. So we're spreading Sami's love all over the place. Since art was something that was so necessary for her because it wasn't just a creative outlet, it was therapy for her, especially
Mhm.
when she would be anxious um, and not know what to do with the energy and the thoughts and things were going on in her mind. It was actually like mental health for her. And she felt very good about it. She felt confident. And because art really helped her in so many different ways, we thought, okay, perfect. Let's do something where we can make sure different organizations and kids have art supplies and art programs because the thing is, she was fortunate enough that we were able to always let her have whatever supplies she wanted. She could take classes that she wanted to do, but not everybody has that opportunity. And the first thing in a lot of programs, schools, organizations, when funding gets cut, the first thing that goes is art because
Yeah.
it's not valued like math or science or English or any of those. But what we have learned by partnering with different organizations is that there is such a need for art and art supplies. And today, kids need it more than ever
Yeah.
because of social media and what's going on in the world and all the stress that's happening. And a lot of times, there's stress at home. So, home isn't even like a safe outlet for a lot of these kids. So, school becomes a place of refuge for them. And if there
Mhm.
isn't an outlet to just go inside and create and express yourself, it's just very sad that that isn't valued like the other programs are because it
Yeah.
is so important for mental health. So art therapy essentially. And so we thought, okay, well, we have to do something where we can partner with different schools. KIPP School, for example,
Mhm.
is a charter school organization. They have 280 schools across the country.
Okay.
And we partnered with the Los Angeles ones where we donated and also supplied art supplies for their art program for the kids for
Mhm.
20 different schools in Los Angeles. We also just met with KIPP School in Miami because we'll be going out to Miami more
Yeah.
now. And they don't even have an art cart in their school because funding has been so difficult to get just the other
Wow.
necessities they need. So we'll be helping them build an art classroom and supplies that they need. So doing those kinds of things help
Yeah.
us because Sami was working and volunteering with a preschool to help with art. She was going to be a teacher assistant to help with arts and crafts.
Mhm.
And so that was important to her. And we thought, how perfect, let's carry that forward and bring her into all of it. So a lot of the connections and collabs that we've partnered with for the Sami Foundation, we make sure that we're not just giving money and buy some art supplies and let us know how it goes. We
Yeah.
are boots on the ground, rolling up your sleeves, building art kits to help give supplies, funding classrooms. A lot of times the teachers use their own money
Mhm.
to buy the art supplies for their classroom out of their own pockets. We're like, they shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
We make sure that at least they know where it's coming from. Amy has to be a part of all of it.
Yeah.
So the partners that we have, she's had touch points with.
Okay.
And
It's so
yeah,
beautiful, Carla. It really is. I mean, Sammy's
thank
now
you.
such a brighter light in a bigger way, and nobody would still want this to happen. But the fact that you're so much brighter. It just takes so much courage and soul and just willingness to move on for how much love you have for your daughter, Sammy. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I'm sure so many people can see there is no light at the end of the tunnel, but there is a way through. And life doesn't have to stay completely dark when something like this happens.
Absolutely.
And we are here for each other. And how do we support Sammy Foundation? How do we get in touch with you if somebody would love to hear more of your story, or
Thank you.
get involved in the grief groups? Because grief is a thing. Grief is huge right now. And
Grief
if we
is,
don't grieve, then it's going to kill us.
yes. And that's one of the things that we have learned, or I have learned just now immersing myself into this world, that grief waits for you.
Yeah,
At
it can
some
get away.
point, you have to process it. You
Yeah,
have to deal with it because it doesn't go away. It walks alongside you and it'll sit very patiently until you've run out of distractions or you've run out of excuses to not
yeah,
lean into it. And then it's there. It's so
yeah,
whether you do it today, you do it in, 5 months or 5 years, you're going to have to lean into it at some point and
yeah.
process it. And
And
um,
let me ask you though, for people that don't even know what that means, how do we grieve? Is grieving when you have the feeling and you just say, okay, I'm going to feel it? Like, what is the process of grieving? And is there ever an end? Does it get easier? How do we know if we're even doing it right?
well, I have to say there's no wrong way to grieve. I
Hmm.
feel like grief is such a personal experience that it's hard to say, like, oh, I'm grieving the right way because I'm doing this, and someone else is doing something completely differently, so it's the wrong way. It's
Yeah,
whatever's right for you. And I feel like because it's such an individual, personal journey, like the process for me, for example, what worked for me, which was finding a community right away, finding these different grief groups with moms who are in the similar situation, talking to mediums and spiritual advisors, talking to a therapist, sharing Sammy's stories with my friends, starting a foundation so we can keep Sammy's memory and mission alive. Those things have worked for me, but it's like Dr. Laura, I quote her because she's just so brilliant. She's 4 years into this, into her grief journey from her son, Sammy, also Sammy, who passed at
yeah,
16. And she'll say they're like waves that hit you in the ocean. And you just sometimes have to get really good at surfing the waves
mm,
because you could be doing the most simple activity, whatever it is. You could be at the grocery store and all of a sudden, you're looking at the fruit and the fruit reminded you of your child's favorite fruit that you used to buy all the time that now you're not going to buy anymore because they're not here. Like certain things like that, like those little moments and triggers, you're hit 1,000 times a day, I would say. You get really good at just letting them come, cry the tears, get them out,
yeah.
and sit with it for a moment, and then it passes.
Hmm.
And then you can kind of, continue on. But it is one of those things, it just stops you in your tracks. And sometimes just leaning into it is what helps and it softens. And
Yeah.
from what I'm told is it softens over time.
Hmm.
It doesn't get smaller. So the misconception used to be that grief shrinks over time. But what they've learned now is it doesn't. Actually, the grief stays the same over time, but the space around it gets bigger.
I
You're,
think to me,
yeah,
it seems like because the love never diminishes, the love
right.
stays the same, or it even probably grows. So if the
Yes,
love is growing, the grief is going to stay the same or grow.
exactly.
It can't diminish. Yeah. And I think maybe I know a couple of people that are way past where you are in your healing journey. which is always forever, healing journey, it's almost like you appreciate those tears
Yeah.
because like you're like, "Ah, it's just like that love that you feel, like grief and love and tears, it's all the same.
It's all the same. I
Yeah,
think that's like I think love is the opposite of grief, or grief is love with nowhere to go.
yeah,
But it's wrapped up in so much love because you cared so much, you felt so much, you lost so much,
yeah.
you loved so much. And it's just finding ways to keep their light alive. You had asked before about how people can get in touch or to learn more about, Sami. We created a web page that, Rod, who's incredibly just I can't even think of the word, but he's just, he has so many different skill sets. And so right away, as a labor of love to Sami, he built a website,
Yeah.
and it's just samiliber.com. And on the website, it tells, the story and tells who she was. We have a link for her artwork on there, all the different art that she created through the years. We have her music playlist, how she left it on her phone, because that is one thing about Sami, and also that's the M in the Sami Foundation, is
Hmm.
music. And she loved music. It was like a sweater that she would wear every day. Music
Yeah.
was a huge part of her life. She would create playlists. She would always take control of the music in the car whenever we were, driving somewhere. It was Sami was controlling the music, and she had just a very eclectic, different types of music genres. So that's on the website. If people, like her friends, I know a lot, will go there and just connect with her by listening to her music and the playlist. And a lot of her friends know the genesis besides, behind the songs that she's
Hmm.
chosen.
Yeah. They could
Um,
probably like be brought back to the dance when they're dancing together at that song.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And so on there, there's just different, so you can really learn about, Sami and her interests, and Um, we have videos, and just to connect and find out who she is. But the organization is the SamiLieberFoundation.org. We are constantly trying to collab with different organizations and to help them with their art supplies. We have a new partnership right now with UCLA Health. So we're going in and helping supply art kits to the patients who can't leave their beds.
Oh my
And
gosh. Oh,
yeah,
that's great. And now I feel like we are a little bit connected in some way because we're both part of UCLA Health. And we'll have to talk about this later, but eventually I'd love to put together chemo kits for kids and the caregivers. And I think art would be an amazing part of that. So,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
I always ask this last question because we are Love Zero Negative and we always are spreading love through accessories and sharing stories. What would your message be in a love tote that could go out to all of our intentional consumers who want to learn something from your story? What message would you put in the love tote?
The message I would put in the love tote is try to enjoy today. Try to do one thing that makes you smile, whether it's going outside and looking at the sunshine, or appreciating the flowers and the blue sky, or having your favorite coffee in the morning. Do one thing that makes you happy that day. So it puts you in a mindset of appreciation and joy,
It's
because
beautiful. It's beautiful. It's also intentionally choosing to do that is
yes,
empowering in itself.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, so much for coming on. Truly, this has been a gift to have you, and I was so happy that you were open to it. And I know a lot of our friends are watching, and I am just so grateful to have you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me, and just, giving me an opportunity to share my journey and my process. And, you are a living example of living in today and having gratitude and showing up and being present because you're an inspiration to so many people. And so thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk soon and to be continued for sure.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
Bye.
for having me. Bye.